Jordan Abbott, and who will introduce himself in a minute. But Walking Digital Corridors, this is the place really where we aim to bring you ideas on how to create commercial conversations with your target audience. Something most sales and customer success folks have found particularly difficult in 2023. So as we head towards 2024, both Jordan and I are seeing a few trends emerge. Number one is change. That seems to be the new constant, certainly in sales. I was at the Global Sales Transformation 18 event held by Consalia yesterday in London, and change was a key theme throughout the day. Second, all-round sales roles. It seems that companies are hiring all-rounders as new business becomes more and more difficult to do. And thirdly, doubling down on existing customers. So there seems to be a real focus going into the new year to build relationships with existing customers, deepen relationships with existing customers, because that's where businesses feel their growth is going to come from, and not new business. And we'll talk about that this morning. So on to the topic. So what are you doing to foster new connections with your existing customer base? We posed that question. Any ideas or thoughts? Please drop them in the comments this morning. How important is personal brand development when building deeper and wider stakeholder relationships within your customer base? And what are the 3 things you can do today to improve your connection acceptance rate with more stakeholders within your customers? And I know Jordan's going to want to share a few thoughts on that one, as I know he's had connection acceptance rates as high as 70%. So that's enough talking from me. Jordan, do you want to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, sure thing. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. I am Jordan Abbott, also known as the Sales Poet. Bit of background on that. I like to do parody music videos. If you fancy a laugh this morning, or just fancy watching me make a bit of a tit of myself, feel free to jump on my profile. But yeah, looking forward to the session. It's a really juicy topic, particularly given where we are and what 2024 is looking like.
Yeah, but before we get started, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, feel free to tell me to go away, but last week you were talking about the I think personal change and the effect that being made redundant had on you, and so I think you might have some news to share this morning, if you feel comfortable sharing it, of course.
Indeed, yeah. So I have accepted an offer. I'll leave it there.
Okay.
There's more news to come, but just touching on what you mentioned about that sort of businesses looking for full cycle reps. The role that I have accepted is a full cycle sales role. I think it's really crucial in terms of buying experience. Whenever you engage with someone, you don't want your prospects to feel like they're a hot potato being thrown between various sort of departments or various functions, should I say. So having that one constant, that one contact, I think is quite crucial moving into the new year. Helps to foster deeper relationships, in my opinion. So I think it is a trend that we are seeing. Obviously, perhaps motivated or by the economic conditions, right? As you mentioned, businesses looking to mitigate risk by having that full cycle sales rep.
Yeah, and quite timely given the topic this morning about fostering new connections within existing customers. So congratulations, Jordan.
Thank you very much.
You'll leave the carrot dangling a little bit, or at least teasing us a little bit. I'm looking forward to you publicizing who you're going to be working with in the new year.
Indeed.
But a big congratulations, given that 3 weeks ago you literally got the news, the bombshell that you were being let go,
Indeed.
and it's only taken you 3 weeks to land a new role. So well done. So do you want to kick us off with, what are some of the things that our audience can actually do today? What key takeaways can they implement literally right now that will
Yeah.
have a positive impact on how many new connections that they can make within their customers?
Yeah, certainly. So I think initially what we need to consider is, I think personal brand is very much associated with social, but it also branches outside of the digital realm, right? The way that you interact with people at events, the way that you interact with people at client meetings, that's all going to influence how you are perceived, which is essentially your personal brand, right? The key piece is that we get very little physical face time with customers, with prospects. So by leveraging digital, what you're able to do is bridge those gaps, right? And then in terms of that actionable insight piece, one of the things that I like to think about that helps to sort of simplify what is quite a complex topic of personal branding is the virtuous circle of social selling, of personal branding. So obviously initially it's your profile, so making yourself look as attractive as possible, going into as much detail as possible and showing your personality. Then we move on to that connections piece. So the stronger your profile is, the more likely you are to get increased number of connections. And I think
we've actually got the data on that now, almost 12 months worth of data tracking the effects that personal brand development has on salespeople. And connection, like across the board, the average seems to be that the connection acceptance rate, before focusing on personal brand development and after, increases by almost 100%. I just want to kind of dial in to, one of the things that I know you've been doing really well that then takes that connection acceptance rate even further. I'm talking about the social networking conversations and how you achieve a 70% plus connection acceptance rate.
Yeah, indeed. So what I'll do, those next two pieces of the virtuous circle is connections and engagement. And what I've been doing is trying to make them go hand in hand as possible. So as you mentioned, inserting myself into as many networking conversations as possible within the comments section. And this I think the beauty about this is it can be used, if you are just working a territory or if you are casting the net wider, right? So if you're casting the net wider, perhaps what you're going to be looking for is content that sort of speaks to your solution, speaks to the problems, the challenges that your prospects are facing.
Or prospects within your existing customers are facing.
Exactly. Posting on your prospect or commenting on your prospect's post. But additionally, a lot of people are on social, but they don't necessarily post. So one of the things that I've been doing is within those target accounts, obviously I create my list of prospects that I'd like to speak to. And what I'll do, I'll go onto their profile, go onto their activity section. If they have posted recently, fantastic. I'll comment on that and engage with that, try and stimulate conversation. But as we know, sometimes people don't post. So what I'll then do is I'll look at their comments. So there's within the all activity section, there's a couple of different options. Look at their comments and reactions. And what this is telling me is what other posts have they engaged with? What are they interested in? What makes them tick? What keeps them up at night? It helps to paint this really sort of more holistic view So a lot of the time, these posts aren't going to be anything to do with what I do or my solution. But what it enables me to do is initially get a better understanding of how that prospect thinks, right? Allows me to comment and engage with that content. And of course, the prospect will then be notified if they've commented or engaged.
Yeah.
Bringing my face into their notifications. And then what I'll also do is I'll send a connection request saying, hey, I noticed we both engaged with this piece of content. Thought it would be a good idea to connect.
Yeah.
And that's the tactic that I've been using that's been helping to not only increase that connection acceptance rate to 70%, but also stimulate a lot more interesting conversations, because rather than leading with my solution, my service, I'm focusing on what I know that the prospect cares about.
Yeah. What's your view on, because I think about that and I think that's an incredibly, it sounds like such an effective way of demonstrating or entering conversation digitally without actually sending, you know, a message, a direct message, which is either, they either like it or they don't. And
Yeah.
if there's a sense of selling in that direct message, you're at risk of burning your bridges. But what you're talking about here, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but doing that every day, every week,
Yeah.
every month, so that you're continuously popping up in your customers and prospective customers or prospective stakeholders within your customers' timeline in a
Yeah.
non-obtrusive, non-disruptive, quite informative way.
Yeah.
And the question I have, is what, why are we not all doing this every day?
Yeah, it's a really great question. I think, without going in too deep, I think there is a focus, particularly from VC backed businesses, to focus on that 3 to 5% that are in market.
Mhm.
We want to qualify, we want to hand over to an AE, they run the discovery, and we want as short sales cycles as possible. Which, yeah, in an ideal world, that's fantastic. But in reality, 3 to 5%, right? When we consider that we're competing against some of our direct competitors that provide a solution or service very similar to what we do, right? So there may be however many of those vendors. But additionally, when we put ourselves in our prospect's position, all they're looking to do is solve a problem. We are just one strand, one type of solution that could solve that problem. And there's various vendors. There's probably 5 or 6 other ways or types of solution to that same problem. So, at any one point, that 3 to 5%, they've got hundreds of people reaching out to them trying to solve that problem. And it just creates noise, right, in their inbox. And especially when we consider the Harvard Business Review findings that 90% of B2B buyers end up working with a vendor that was on their day one shortlist.
Yeah.
Right. So really, we need to be ensuring that we are on that day one shortlist if we are to stand a chance of being included in the review, if we are to stand a chance of actually, going through that journey with our buyer.
Yeah, indeed. And it may only be a handful of customers you're working with. It may be a larger customer base that you're working with groups with multiple subsidiaries within it. All of this, what we're talking about this morning, applies. And so I just want to say thank you for sharing your insight with us, Jordan. I think there's some practical ideas that people can take away and put into practice today.
Yeah.
If anyone has any questions, you can find myself, Alex Abbott, the Bearded Sales Guy, on most socials, or Jordan Abbott, the Sales Poet. We also have, I have a Substack members group. You can find me at www.beardedsalesguy.social or www.walkingdigitalcorridors.com. and we'd love to see you there. We are coming towards the end of season 1. This is our 11th episode. So I think we've technically passed that milestone of 10 episodes, which I understand most podcasts don't make it to. So in the new year, in season 2, we'd like to start inviting you, our audience, to come and join us. So if there's any topics related to walking digital corridors you'd like to share with us, please raise your hand. Come and find us on social. And with that, I wish you a wonderful Thursday. Have a great upcoming weekend, and we'll see you next time on Walking Digital Corridors.